My girlfriend said, "Lucas, nobody's holding you hostage here. You know where the exit is." Those words hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. It was Friday night, and I was at my boss's rooftop game night, celebrating a promotion I had worked toward for over 2 years. I had brought my girlfriend, Mia, hoping she'd meet my colleagues and maybe show them the side of her I loved. I'd been telling everyone for months how amazing she was. But as soon as she saw Miles, one of Ben's neighbors, helping set up the music, she switched into this. I don't even know what to call it. Flirty, loud, physically close. Touching his arm, laughing at everything he said, whispering inside jokes only they seemed to understand. And I was standing right there, feeling my face heat up. I tried to ignore it, tried to chalk it up to her extroverted personality, but the pit in my stomach wouldn't go away. I leaned over and whispered, "Hey, can we step outside for a second?" She didn't even glance at me. "Why? What's wrong? Can't we just talk later?" Her tone was casual, dismissive. I tried again, keeping my voice low. "I just want to talk privately for a minute." Finally, she turned her head and gave me that half smile, the one that always made me doubt myself. "Are you seriously doing this right now at my work thing?" she said, louder this time. A few people nearby glanced over. I swallowed hard. "Can we please just step outside?" I asked, desperate to avoid a scene, and then she said it. The words that made everything crystal clear. "If my talking to someone bothers you that much, Lucas, nobody's holding you hostage. You know where the exit is." The music was still playing, the rooftop buzzing with casual chatter, but for a moment it felt like the world went silent. I froze, realizing this wasn't just another small argument over boundaries. This was public, deliberate, a way of putting me in my place in front of everyone. And in that instant, something shifted inside me. I put my drink down, looked at her, and calmly said, "Thanks for being clear." Then I walked away. No yelling, no dramatics, just the quiet certainty that I had finally seen the truth. I went straight to the elevator, down to the street, and didn't look back. By the time I got home, I had packed a small bag laptop, work clothes, essentials, and called my friend Jake. He picked me up within the hour. For the first time in years, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. No guilt, no confusion, just relief. Mia blew up my phone, calling and texting, insisting I come back, saying I was overreacting. But I kept the one response I knew was true. "You told me I wasn't being held hostage, so I left." That night on Jake's couch, I reflected. The memories flashbars where she'd lingered a little too long with male bartenders. Parties where she made inside jokes with strangers, while I stood by quietly. Moments I had brushed off as my own insecurity. Over time, I had convinced myself I was the problem, that I was controlling or paranoid. But now I saw the pattern. She pushed boundaries. I tried to assert myself. She dismissed it, often publicly, and I felt guilty for feeling uncomfortable. But this was different. This was humiliating. And it happened in front of everyone. Monday morning at work, my boss Ben pulled me aside during coffee break. "Lucas, that wasn't okay," he said. "You handled it better than most would." Everyone saw what happened. Even my coworker Priya reached out later, saying, "I literally thought, finally, he deserves better." For the first time, I realized my coworkers had witnessed the toxicity I had been making excuses for. I didn't need to explain anything to them. The truth was visible. Meanwhile, Mia started posting on Instagram, painting herself as the victim of a controlling boyfriend who had abandoned her. But those who had been at the rooftop party remembered the reality. Screenshots of her posts, comments from Miles, Ben, Priya, confirmed what actually happened. Her narrative began collapsing under its own weight. And for me, there was an unexpected clarity. The relief I had felt walking away wasn't sadness, it was freedom. I could finally breathe without questioning my worth or replaying every interaction in my head. That week, I cut off access to shared accounts, changed the passwords, and began reclaiming my independence. Bills she'd been relying on me for, utilities, car insurance, everything shifted back to responsibility for herself. Oddly, I didn't feel guilty. I reminded myself of her words. Nobody's holding you hostage. You know where the exit is. Every time I felt a twinge of guilt, those words echoed, dissolving it. For the first time in years, I realized just how much I had been walking on eggshells around her. And now, for the first time, I was stepping off them. Monday afternoon, I was still reeling from the weekend. Mia hadn't stopped messaging, posting, or trying to spin the story online. I ignored her calls, but my phone buzzed constantly with notifications. Screenshots of her Instagram stories were circulating, and I could see the narrative she was trying to push. Lucas abandoned me. Controlling, cold, emotionally abusive. Every time I glanced at my feed, I felt a pang of disbelief. I had walked away when she told me I could, and somehow she had turned that into me being the villain. By Tuesday, things escalated. She showed up at my apartment, makeup smeared, voice trembling, insisting it was urgent. Jake blocked the door. Lucas doesn't want to talk. You told him he wasn't being held hostage. He left. That's the story. She tried to push past him, pleading, crying, but Jake didn't budge. Eventually, she left, slamming the door behind her. I didn't chase, didn't respond. For the first time, I let someone else enforce the boundary I had been trying to set for years. Wednesday brought another surprise. My boss Ben pulled me aside again. Lucas, I need to say something. The way you handled Friday was impressive. Everyone saw Mia's outburst. You stayed calm, walked away better than most would have. Priya sent me a Slack message too. I literally thought, finally, you deserve better. The validation from colleagues I respected hit me harder than any argument with Mia ever could. Suddenly, I saw that I hadn't been overreacting. I had been surviving. The next morning, I realized Mia's posts weren't going away, they were spreading. She tagged mutual friends, co-workers, even tried to involve new people in her version of events. I decided to take control before it escalated. I created an Instagram story explaining, without naming her, exactly what had happened. The rooftop incident, her words, the witnesses, and the screenshots I had. Within minutes, Ben, Priya, and even Miles, the musician she had been flirting with, confirming every detail. Mia's attempt to paint me as the bad guy collapsed in real time. Then came the financial boundaries. I had been covering utilities, internet, phone, and car insurance. After leaving, I stopped paying for everything she relied on. She immediately complained about difficulties paying bills. I didn't respond. Adults are responsible for their own finances. The next few days, I felt no guilt. Every time a fleeting doubt crept in, I remembered. She told me I wasn't being held hostage. She pointed to the exit. I took it. By the weekend, Mia's behavior became bolder. She tried to contact my new friend Ashley, someone I had started seeing, to warn her about me. Screenshots of cropped conversations made me look controlling. Ashley reached out, concerned but cautious. I calmly walked her through the real context, showed her full screenshots and messages, and explained everything from the rooftop party. Ashley listened, asked questions, and didn't flinch. It was a relief to finally be believed without having to justify myself endlessly. The following Monday, I got a message from our landlord about the lease. We were still on the same lease, but I informed them I was moving out at the end of the term. Mia would need to either cover the full rent or find a roommate. Again, no guilt. The relief of enforcing my boundaries outweighed any anxiety about inconvenience. I realized I had been carrying the weight of a toxic pattern for 3 years. apologizing for feelings I shouldn't have had to suppress. By the end of that week, the pressure began to lift. My co-workers, friends, even family reached out to reassure me I had done the right thing. It was shocking to see how many people had silently noticed the pattern I had excused. For the first time, I felt aligned with my own judgment, rather than constantly doubting myself. Every action, walking out of that rooftop, refusing to engage with her drama, setting financial boundaries, solidified a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in years. That night, as I sat in my new apartment, unpacking essentials, I realized the significance of the words Mia had said. Nobody's holding you hostage. You know where the exit is. It wasn't just an insult or a throwaway comment. It was a challenge I accepted. And now, after years of walking on eggshells, I was finally stepping off. Freedom, clarity, and the ability to breathe things I had forgotten existed. And with Ashley, there was a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. A relationship not built on tension, manipulation, or fear, but mutual trust, honesty, and respect. It started on a Thursday morning. I was at my desk, trying to focus on a project, when the receptionist called me down to the lobby. My heart sank before I even got there. Mia had shown up again. This time, she wasn't alone. Alongside her was Sarah, someone from HR who looked uncomfortable from the start. Mia launched into her story immediately, her voice loud and trembling. He left me without explanation. He's controlling. He abandoned me when I was struggling. I stayed calm, letting her words hit the air, knowing that the truth was on my side. I explained everything succinctly, the rooftop party, her words, how I had asked to talk privately, how she had publicly told me to leave. Sarah listened, eyes widening as the pieces fell into place. Mia tried to pivot, claiming she hadn't meant it literally, but Sarah stopped her. "Did you say those exact words in front of his co-workers?" she asked. Mia faltered. She couldn't deny it. The truth was right there, undeniable. Sarah's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Lucas doesn't owe you another conversation. Adults take responsibility for their words. If you keep showing up at his workplace, report it to HR. This isn't a relationship issue anymore, it's a workplace boundaries issue." Security escorted Mia and Sarah out, and I stood there, absorbing the relief like air filling long empty lungs. That evening, I started searching for my new apartment in earnest. I found a small one-bedroom 15 minutes from work, clean, quiet, with enough sunlight to feel alive again. Signing the lease felt like claiming a piece of myself I hadn't realized was missing. Jake and Priya offered to help me move. The support I had ignored for years suddenly felt tangible, real, and I appreciated it in a way I hadn't imagined. I could finally create a space where I didn't have to anticipate walking on eggshells. Then came Ashley. We had met about a month ago at a friend's birthday party, and unlike Mia, she was calm, straightforward, easy to talk to. We'd been on a handful of dates, nothing serious yet, but everything felt effortless. After Mia's failed attempt to interfere, Ashley reached out. I met her at a coffee shop, and she hesitated before speaking. "I need to ask, did you really abandon your ex when she was struggling? Was it controlling?" I took a deep breath, showing her the screenshots, the context she hadn't seen. I explained the rooftop incident, every detail she needed to understand what had really happened. Ashley listened, asking questions but never judging. By the time I finished, I could see her shoulders relax, the tension leaving her body. "I'm glad you told me," she said. "Now I see the full picture." It was the first time in years I felt completely believed. That night, I made a careful Instagram post, clarifying the story without naming Mia. I included screenshots, witness accounts, and context. Within hours, my friends, co-workers, and even Miles chimed in, confirming everything. Mia's attempt to manipulate others collapsed in real time. By morning, she had privated her accounts, and her attempt to sabotage my life ended almost as quickly as it had begun. Finally, I could breathe. The apartment was mine. Bills were separate. Mia's influence over my life, my finances, my peace of mind was gone. Ashley and I planned a weekend hiking trips, something simple, grounding and joyful. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't anticipating conflict or drama. I was just living, free from manipulation, surrounded by friends and a newfound sense of self-respect. I realized that walking out that night on the rooftop was the best decision I had ever made. It was more than just leaving a party, was leaving a pattern of control and disrespect behind. And now, with Ashley by my side and a life that felt mine again, I understood what freedom really meant. The silence of my apartment, the comfort of my own space, the ability to make my own choices without fear it was everything I had been missing. Mia was finally out of my life, and for the first time in years, I felt unshakable peace.